Be reversed. The decision cannot be reversed the day before the meeting.
Dr. Turner, you've been there several times and we've not done that yet. I don't know why you anticipate us doing it now.
No, sir, you have not.
I ask again, will you move it back to McGray?
That's a decision that I alone do not make. The commission would have to make that decision.
Will you address this issue?
To the commission on Wednesday when they meet.
Thank you.
Well, of course, the other piece of land in question is in Granville County, where huge numbers of people had joined hands, literally, to keep the state off the site. Just off Interstate 85, about 5 miles south of Oxford and 25 miles northwest of Raleigh. That piece of land has a lot of friends.
If this land could talk, would it be as loud, as angry as the people who live on it, around it, and who are trying to protect it?
My question to you, Thermal Cam of North Carolina, is when are you going to go home?
The state has selected this roughly 500-acre tract of land in Granville County, south of Oxford, as one of 2 likely sites on which it will build a hazardous waste incinerator. Granville County residents are doing everything they can to make sure the incinerator is not built there. They marched on the governor's mansion in Raleigh.
I'm mad as hell, basically. It's madness to burn this stuff and send it up a smokestack. There's no way you can get rid of all of it.
Oxford attorney John Pike sold 5,000 shares in part of the property to 10,000 people. They all bought a piece of land that cuts to the heart of the Granville site. He hopes the state will never be able to condemn the land and take it over because the deed is complicated and confused.
It will never be unraveled. My hope is it'll never be unraveled, and I hope is sincerely that it will never be unraveled by the state of North Carolina.
When the state hired a survey team to examine the land, it was not met by a welcoming committee. Hundreds of people linked arms to block their access to the site. The team never got on the property.
Laura, we think we have access to get on the back side of the property.
No, we don't want you in here.
I understand that,
We don't want you in Rowan. We don't want you in Iredell. We don't want you in North Carolina.
I understand that, but we think we have access to do some work.
Protecting this land has brought thousands of people together for a common cause. They fear the incinerator may be put in their community.
I feel proud of the people that are willing to come out. I feel discomfort because there's our government that is doing this to us.
Where do you stand? Mike Warren is chairman of the county commission in Granville County. He is live in front of the courthouse in Oxford right now, along with State Representative Jim Crawford. Mr. Warren, why do you oppose this incinerator site so much?
Larry, we feel like it's both health risks to our community, and it's already economically affected our community, and we feel like in the long run it will continue to economically affect our community. The citizens of Granville County, through their county commissioners, have committed 2 cents on their tax rate toward fighting the hazardous waste incinerator, or keeping the hazardous waste incinerator out of Granville County. But more importantly, in our court cases, we have supported not just the citizens of Granville County, but our court cases have been around the constitutional rights of all the citizens of North Carolina. We do not wish to see the hazardous waste incinerator in North Carolina nor in Granville County. We feel like there are alternatives that are available other than overcapacity hazardous waste incinerator for the citizens of North Carolina. We have bought time now through our court cases to let our governor and let our legislature know we do not wish to have this hazardous waste incinerator. We, the people, are speaking to you now, asking you not to have the hazardous waste incinerator in North Carolina and get out of the agreement which we are now in.
That lays it out fairly succinctly. Let's go down to the man who is sitting beside you, Representative Jim Crawford. The legislature, after setting this whole thing up, sort of backed away from it, gave it to the governor to run with it. What should or is the legislature's role in this thing now?
The legislative role is a very serious role. We have created a monster. We've given the governor and the Hazardous Waste Siting Commission powers that they should never have had. North Carolina belongs to the people. We are siting a hazardous waste site within 1.5 miles of a community. Between the community and that site is our water supply. Everybody, or every item has been considered except the people. We've talked about highways, we've talked about forests. The people have not been considered. Let me tell you, Mr. Sloan, the people in Granville County don't want it in your territory either. And Lois Walker and your other representatives from that area are working together with us in the legislature. We are trying to build a North Carolina census against a hazardous waste site.
Representative Crawford, did you vote against Senate Bill 324 that created this commission?
No, sir, I didn't. My governor told me that we had an emergency, and an emergency that needed addressing.
So you made a bad vote.
I never dreamed that a siting commission would not take into consideration the people of North Carolina.
All right. So you think you made a mistake, and some other legislators apparently made a mistake in voting for this. Is that your position?
I think many of us made a mistake, yes.
All right, Jim Crawford, thank you very much for being with us. We'll be back with more on this after these messages.
I'm Bob Knoll. My official title is Head of Auto Testing for Consumer Reports magazine, but I really work for you. Every year, my staff and I report on over 140 models, specifically with your needs in mind. So when you shop for a car, you'll know if it's safe and reliable, how it's equipped, how it performs, and whether it's cramped or comfortable. And there are over 200 people who work for you at Consumer Reports. We test and report on everything from toothpaste to TVs. And since Consumer Reports is nonprofit and accepts no advertising, we're able to give you the unbiased truth about products. Right now is a good time to try Consumer Reports because you can get a free trial issue with no strings attached. Here are the details.
Call now for your free trial issue of Consumer Reports. Learn how products compare, which give you the most value for your dollar, and which are best for your specific needs. Consumer Reports gives you information like which fast food lunch had the least fat, which VCR had the best picture quality, which oil filter best protects your car, which laundry detergent delivers what it promises, and which bank really helps the money pile up. Consumer Reports rating system compares products by brand name. You'll know who the reliable manufacturers are, which models have the features you want, plus all the pros and cons, including price. Call now for your free trial issue, then decide. When the bill arrives, pay it and get 11 more issues, 12 in all, including the annual buying guide issue, for just $20. Or write cancel on the bill and owe nothing. If you do subscribe, you'll also get 2 free gifts, the New Medicine Show, updated and revised, plus the 1990 buying guide issue.
And your paid subscription includes the annual auto issue with new car ratings, repair records, and crash test results. So put Consumer Reports to work for you. Call now.
Call 1-800-227-5300. 1-800-227-5300.
Back with the town meeting now, the hazardous waste decision via satellite between Durham and Charlotte. Here in the studios, we mentioned earlier, Dr. Paul Conant from St. Lawrence University in upstate New York. Heard that there may be a federal plan to build hazardous waste incinerators like this one, as many as 90 across the country. What do you hear about that?
Well, if that is the plan, I think it's absolutely outrageous. There are only about 10 commercial hazardous waste incinerators in this country at the moment, and the kind of stories you've heard from Caldwell County and from Rock Hill are not at all unusual, even when you've got these so-called state-of-the-art protection devices. I would like to stress, you might be interested to know this, that your television station did a marvelous service, as you're doing tonight, when they produced a program called Fire on the Mountain. Citizens from across the country know about Caldwell County. And that's why it comes as a bit of a shock to hear that North Carolina seems to be willing to do this all again. If I was a citizen of North Carolina, I would not trust the state to protect me.
In your mind, what's an alternative?
The alternative is waste prevention. What everybody talks about, even North Carolina talks about waste prevention, but they're not putting the money to it. They're putting a fraction of the money into the pollution prevention pays program, something like $488,000 when you're talking millions upon millions on incineration. So waste prevention, waste exchange, waste recycling, chemical treatment, especially chemical treatment for substances which contain metals which cannot be destroyed by incinerators, chemical treatment for substances which contain chlorine, again which cannot be destroyed by incinerators and creates very toxic byproducts, and then, and only then, talk about incineration, and that kind of incineration, much smaller quantity, should be done on site.
Dr. Paul Seco, a biomedical researcher from York County, South Carolina. You live near a thermal chem plant. What is thermal chem like as a neighbor?
As a neighbor, I happen to be a modest student of their technology, and I'm very much impressed with the fact that they do not monitor the important things in that plant. Moreover, they talk about the fancy scrubber. The scrubber, I have documentation in-house that shows that the scrubber has been operated at a pH of 3.1.
What does that mean? I don't know what that means to me.
It means that that is 10,000 times more acid than 6.99. Now, the purpose of that scrubber is to neutralize acids that are generated during the incineration process.
So you're saying it does not operate as well as Thermochem says it does, is that correct?
Absolutely not.
Rob Kirk, let me get you to respond.
The interesting thing is that South Carolina DHEC, or the Department of Health and Environmental Control, has recently done soil studies and air studies within a 2-mile radius of our plant, and what they found is no contamination. Nothing above background, not after 7 years of operation. And I think it's indicative of the fact that we do everything we can to ensure that our facilities run correctly.
Dr. Conner, quickly.
Yeah, Chris, I think you're hearing public relations. This same company has told people in this state that you get no more contamination from one of these facilities than cooking a hamburger. It's absolute nonsense. This is public relations. I've heard it from one end of the country to the other. In British Columbia, they told cattle people there that don't think of this as a hazardous waste incinerator, think of it as an air purification device. It's public relations, well, not science. It's not science.
I think that the interesting thing is, and I disagree, and I don't know who said that. Certainly there was discussions about products of incomplete combustion, and we all know in poor combustion environments like your grill that you could have problems with dioxin and furon and things like that. The thing that the state has to deal with, and it's a dilemma. For example, the school systems, as I've worked with Dr. Little, on a problem where every county in the state has a problem, and they're going to have to look for, as mandated by the federal government, by law, they're going to have to look for an incinerator to help them solve that problem.
Rob, okay. Brian?
Thank you, Chris. There's somebody in this audience who we need to point out to you, and her name is Patricia Link. She's from Rowan County and has been fighting this for 3 years. Not just the site, that's really not the issue with you. Has it been, Patricia?
No, it hasn't been, and the wonderful thing about the siting process here is that there are thousands of people that have become educated and more knowledgeable about the situation as it affects North Carolina, and we are committed to actively and adamantly opposing the site anywhere in this state. We are not for the proliferation of hazardous waste.
Okay, thank you, Patricia. Right now, let's go back to Larry in Durham.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Brian. We've got to go back to the grassroots level here just for a moment. Attorney John Pike of Granville County and Chris Combs of GROW. You're a couple of the leading opponents to this site. First of all, John, you've gotten a lot of publicity, even national publicity, on the networks with your method to separate the parcels of land, sell it to 10,000 people, and snarl it in so much red tape that they can never build the darn thing. Do you think this is going to work?
I think it'll help. I don't know that it'll be the death knell for them, but we're willing to go to any length to stop it. That was just another way we could try, and we'll continue to try any method.
Chris, is pure emotion, the type that we have seen in Granville County so far, enough to carry this battle and stop that thing from coming into your county?
Well, I think that when you say no, and you mean no, and you're right about what you're saying no to, that that emotion combined with the knowledge that we have gained in this process will be enough to stop it.
Let's go to Dave Bullock. I'm sure we have some questions by now, Dave.
The key ingredient of a town meeting, of course, is the opportunity for people in the town to ask their questions. We have a question right here.
Hi, I'm Sandra Webb. I'm a member of GROW, I'm a member of NAT, and I'm a landowner. My question to Dr. Turner is, the health of my family and my friends will be in jeopardy. Why do you think I should not oppose this incinerator?
I think that reasonable people can have a difference of opinion. I do not believe that your children or your family will be in danger from this facility. I would not even have accepted this job if I had thought that was true.
We have a response to that.
Bill Holman with Conservation Council and the Sierra Club. Dr. Little, the Environmental Epidemiology section of the Department of Environment, Health, and Natural Resources recently released a report that criticized the state's handling of the Caldwell Systems incinerator. And I wanted to ask if you had an opportunity to read that report and what specific things the state of North Carolina is going to do to learn from its mistakes, and many environmental groups have asked for an independent commission to investigate that, to learn from those mistakes.
This too goes to the health and safety issue, Dr. Little.
Very much. I brought a copy of the report with me. I happen to have it at home because I had just received it and had read through it. And if I might have the time, I could read some of the findings from that report.
I'm not sure we have an awful lot of time for an awful lot of findings, but hit about 2 or 3 good high points.
All right, I'll hit the first 3 because I assume that the authors put the first 3 in priority. The first one does say it's an excellent case study of problems from inadequate incinerator design. I think we have all agreed to that.
No, ma'am, I don't believe the state of North Carolina ever agreed to that. The Hazardous Waste Commission, the Solid and Hazardous Waste Division tried to get them their Part B permit.
Not without a lot of modifications.
Read on.
The second was inadequate pollution control equipment, which also would be required for them to get a Part B. Inadequate supervision and education of employees at the facility. Inadequate federal and state air pollution regulations in place at the time. Inadequate resources for routine environmental monitoring. Inadequate resources allocated in general to state agencies involved in overseeing proper management of hazardous waste.
Dr. Little, the question goes to the health and safety. The report did say that there were health problems among workers at Caldwell Systems, did it not?
I'm glad you brought that up.
Did it not?
No, I don't believe that's a fair reading of this finding.
Well, while you look for that,
all right,
go to Brian Thompson
here we are.
in Charlotte.
I think you need to know this. Some of the numerous media reports.
Go ahead.
Some of the numerous media reports have sensationalized the issues surrounding CSI and provided misinformation or incomplete information to the public. A significant proportion of the media coverage related to environmental contamination has been remarkably biased, and little effort has been spent in determining the facts related to specific investigations cited in this document, and it points to the fact that there has been little contamination noted there, and they cannot show that the problems related to environment and health there are associated with that facility, and specifically environmental epidemiology branch has asked for an independent investigation. I think it's by Duke University, and the citizens there did not cooperate with them to do that.
We could probably hammer this one for the rest of the day.
That's right.
Let's go to Charlotte.
We're going to go to Brian in Charlotte.
Okay, thank you, guys. With me right now, Brucey Serene from Statesville. You're a physician up there, is that correct? And you have a specific concern for Dr. Conant.
Yes, Dr. Conant, it is true that the technology for monitoring the emissions from a hazardous waste incinerator stack are quite limited as far as we understand. Could you please comment on that?
Yeah, extremely limited indeed. The 2 areas of particular concern are heavy metals and dioxins and furans, and there's no continuous monitoring available for that. Unfortunately, the way these things are set up, at the very beginning of the process, when the machinery is in tip-top condition, you do what is called a test burn. And once that test burn achieves the certain levels that the EPA has set, then the company is essentially allowed to let rip. And what they monitor are very rudimentary things like temperature, feed rate, maybe carbon monoxide levels, and quite frankly, that's a very clumsy tool to try to detect the kind of things that we're all concerned about, particularly these heavy metals, dioxins, and furans.
Mr. Kirk, is that a fair description?
Well, no, I don't think it is. I think that you do have a trial burn, but what you do during a trial burn is establish just what Dr. Conant talked about. But those are very